Hey guys, Chev here for a final video on Fantasy Grounds tutorial. This one I'm just going to cover some cool pro tips. Let's go real quick through the options, okay? There's a bunch of different options in here, and the best thing you can do is hit this little question mark and just go to the wiki and look through all the options and read about them. There's lots and lots of things you can do. We'll just skim them real fast. So let's see. The ones I like to change are, let's see, turn auto center map. This one's kind of shady. I don't like to. If you turn this on, I highly recommend telling your players you turned it on, or maybe it tells them anyway. Maybe it probably does, because it's kind of weird that it's going to show the whispers between players. Nobody uses it anyway in any of the games I play, so it's probably not a big deal. At least I'm not aware that they use it if they do. Show GM roles is on. That's not by default, so by default that's off. Yeah, I showed this in a previous video, but I turned that and the dice tower on. That way all my roles are public. They can't accuse me of shenanigans, but sometimes I do want to roll something in secret, and so I do that with the dice tower, so that's kind of nice. Let's see, show results to client. Yep, decal image. This is where you change that image on the background if you want. I tend to just leave it as blank, or the Smiteworks logo, or D&D. I just leave it whatever. You can load more decals when you load the game in that little window where you chose the theme before you load the campaign up. Show characters to clients, off. Oh. Party, show characters to clients. Okay, I'm guessing that show characters client determines whether the main and skills tabs are available to players in the party sheet. Ah, okay. So by default in the party sheet, the players can't see main or skills. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Auto NPC initiative. So I don't like that. I don't like when I add stuff to the tracker that they already have initiative. So I usually just turn that off. But I think by default it's on set to group. And group means they all get the same initiative. If you do want auto initiative, but you don't want them all to have the same initiative, turn it to on. That's what I recommend. NPC numbering, append. I usually change this to random, because if it's append and the first one they see is Goblin 12, then they know there's at least 12 goblins. If it's random, it doesn't tell them anything, but it still keeps them unique. You can turn it off completely if you want to and just name it yourself. NPC roles, variable or fixed. I'll let you guys learn about that stuff on the options there. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Ring bell on turn. I usually turn that on. I don't know why it's not on. By default. Skip hidden actor. This is whether or not you want to skip invisibles in the combat tracker. So if I add a goblin in here, and if I start the turn order, it will select him even though he's invisible by default. See the little ding? It's nice. If you do not want that, if you want to skip invisible people, turn that on, and then it will just keep selecting Rum's turn because it keeps skipping over this guy since he's invisible. Make him visible, and then it will select him. So I actually have had situations where I wanted it both ways. So I'm not sure, what that actually gives us by skipping it, because sometimes I'm like, I want the invisible one to take a turn, but then I also don't want to reveal that there's an invisible one. Sometimes I don't want them to take a turn. I don't know. It's kind of annoying. Probably leave it on by default, just so you don't accidentally reveal something that's hidden, that's in the combat tracker that's hidden. By default it's off, but your personal default might be to turn that on for most of your campaigns. Let's see, stop at round start, bar colors. These are all just how you want to view different things. I tend to leave those default. 80% of grid seems good. When you drag a token onto the grid, it scales to 80% the size of the grid square. That seems like a pretty good compromise. 100% is a little much. Sometimes tokens start overlapping too much. Effect icon size, standard, small, large. I actually would prefer large, because we notice how small those were when we were messing with them. So if we put our goblin dude out here, oops, I need to do that. Drag his token out here. And then we drag, say he's blinded. There, that icon's much bigger, much easier to see that he's blinded. Yeah, it's pretty small by default. Even large isn't still not very big. So I definitely recommend doing that. Let's see, facing indicator. So that's the so normally if you spin your mouse wheel on a token, it just spins the token. But if you want, you can turn on facing indicator, and instead it will spin an arrow pointing where they're facing. Both are kind of cool. I like both of them. It's just preference, I guess. The one thing that's kind of annoying is if you turn the arrow to point a certain way, and then you turn this off, it's the same value that adjusts the token rotation. So suddenly the tokens are all rotated. So definitely pick what one functionality you want and stick with it. If you go back and forth, it's kind of a little bit annoying. Yeah, the rest of these are visual stuff. You guys can tweak at will. There's house rules. There's some attack, fumble, and crit tables that are kind of fun. If they roll a crit or a 1, or a crit fail or a crit success, then it'll roll against this table. Tables are something I haven't really covered, but they're pretty straightforward. Basically, there's just items on a list, and then you hit the button and roll, and it will roll against the list. You can set a custom die if you want, but by default it will roll just however many are here. Even if it doesn't match a physical die, like if you have 9 items here, it would roll a 1d9. So, which is, it's obviously can't do that in real life because you don't have a 9-sided die, but you can when it comes to a computer rolling. So by default, this button will roll however many die. It'll roll a die with the sides equal to how many items are on this list. There. Now I can speak. Okay, you can create your own tables, which I'm going to go over in a minute because I have a little custom module that I created that has some cool tables in it. The one thing we didn't really cover... and the fumble and crit tables. Let me finish that real fast. Those are in the modules. They're here by default. Fumble, crit, fumble, crit, fumble, crit. There it is. Default fumble and critical hit tables. You can load those, and then once they're loaded, you can turn that option on. And whenever they roll a 1, it'll roll on that table. And then you can see, let's see, load the module. Did it not load? Come on, show me the module. Oh, whatever. I guess because they don't load anything of substance in, so just find the tables in here instead. Default fumble and critical hit tables. There, so here's like the fumble table. It'll just be an automatic miss if it's a 1 to 4 on this table, or a fumble effect. So you could like roll on the table manually if you want to. And then so anything in brackets is the name of another table. So if it rolls one of these on this table, then it will roll on against that table, which is what it did over here. It rolled on this one, rolled a 5, and that's within 5 to 6 here. So then it rolled on the fumble effect. Spell backlash description. Your spell feeds back to you, doing its damage and effects on yourself. If this action is impossible, your original opponent receives an action point. So there's some cool stuff there. You can also roll on the critical hit effect table. Parry. In addition to standard critical hit damage to your target, you gain +2 to all your defenses against attacks from the target until the end of your next turn. So those kinds of things are pretty fun. I have yet to really to try those out, but I thought they were kind of cool. There's also this massive system shock thing, which I think there's another table for that or something. I don't remember, but basically when you get hit or knocked unconscious or damaged, like there's a chance like that you get a limp or something. Like there's all sorts of these things that can happen to you. Let's see, is there a no, I don't see it. Let's just jump back out here real fast and look at that. There it is. When turned on, this option will use the massive damage alternative rule from the Dungeon Master's Guide. An automatic Constitution saving throw will be made if the actor suffers damage greater than half their hit points. And on a failure, a roll will be made on the System Shock table and the result applied to the actor. The System Shock table. System Shock. Let's go up here and select all. System Shock. There it is. Oh yeah, it's Dungeon Master's Guide. That's what brings it in. Okay. Cool. So you can... The creature is stunned until the end of its next turn. Or... The creature can't take reactions until the end of its next turn. So if you take more than half of your damage, and you turn that rule on, and someone takes more than half their life as damage, it'll roll on that table and give them something else, which is kind of fun. Okay. Yeah, the rest is stuff you can play around with and read those descriptions yourself. Let's go ahead and talk about... We didn't really talk... So notes is really straightforward. Notes is just, here's a note, here's some stuff on it, and you can access your note. You can make it public so everyone can see it. If it's public, then anyone can see that note, just like that. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. Story. We didn't really go over story. And that's because there's not really anything here. This is basically like notes, but more advanced, because you can create stories. You can also create story templates, which will generate a story item based from a template. And the template can be constructed using like die rolls and rolling against tables and stuff. And I'm about to show you something really cool with a module I created with this. But basically you can create story here. Now, real quick, I wanted to show how to load a pre-done module. So Tomb of Annihilation is one that we've been running. Somewhere in here, we've got Tomb of Annihilation. Come on. Where are you? There it is. Tomb of Annihilation. You might be wondering also what the difference between Tomb of Annihilation module and Tomb of Annihilation players is. Those are basically, if I load this module, this green check mark means that it's then free for players to load. So if I load this one here, this one has all the GM stuff in it too. And I can come over as a library on as a player, and you'll notice I don't have a lot I can load. I can load like a few like players things. I can load the Tomb of Annihilation players one. So as a GM, you don't really want to load that. You only want to load the GM one. But the player can load these if they want to. They don't have to though, because they hardly ever need to access like this data. But if they want to, they're definitely more than welcome to. And they would need to load some of the players' stuff for like creating a character if they were creating a character inside Fantasy Grounds. So if you're having a session 0, you're not going to use D&D Beyond. You're going to do proper characters. In order for them to have access to all the things that they need to load those modules as well. So we created a character as a GM after loading modules in. But if you tried to create it on the player side, you'd have to have these modules. And I forgot to mention that in that video. Okay, so we've got different modules here that we can load. And they'll have stories. So we loaded the Tomb of Annihilation one. Now our story window should be populated. And we should have a category in here, Tomb of Annihilation. Obviously, I'm not going to go here and spoil anything, but let's just go ahead and do like the first area, which is not really spoiler. So there's like story overview, things about running the adventure, and you can page through these, and you can just see like all sorts of stuff here. Stories usually have like these little text bubbles, and you can click them and they put them in the chat. It's really nice for like blurbs of text that you want your players to remember, or if you're playing a text-only campaign and no audio. Okay, let's see. I don't want to accidentally reveal too much here. Let's just go to... There's Port Nyanzaru somewhere. Yeah, this covers too much stuff. Let's see. Welcome to Choltz. Okay. Starting the adventure. Anyway, contents. That's what I want. Port Nyanzaru. Okay. There's a contents one. That's really helpful. So just come in here and click contents, and that'll give you everything. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to Port Nyanzaru here. And then, okay, so here you go. You got an image of Port Nyanzaru, which is just like a little thing to help, start the imagination. And then it has all sorts of different things in here. The arrival, once they approach, what Sindra Sylvain says to them. And then there's a DM map, which I won't load here because that'll probably spoil stuff. But there's a player map. And that's kind of nice. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter on the DM map because they're basically the same thing. Yeah, what's the difference here? I don't see a difference. Okay, but anyway, you can click these and load them up and see the names of the different places. Let's see, DM map. Do I get any different information? No, basically the same. Okay, so these maps are cool because they have all these pins. Now, one thing I will say, and there's gonna be maybe a tiny spoiler. So, no, there won't be a spoiler. No, because I won't click anything that we don't know about. So let's do this. There's a cool thing here. So images, if we go find the Tomb of Annihilation, not battle maps, we want the handouts. There we go. Player handouts. There should be a player map of Chult, however you say it. There's Nyanzaru. So here's the unpinned one. So this is what you would hand your players in real life. They give it to you because it's part of the Wizards of the Coast module, but honestly this is useless because you can turn on Fog of War. And so that one's kind of stupid. So if you use the pinned one, oh no. There should be a player map. Maybe it's not there. Maybe let's try Tomb of Annihilation. Where else would it be? DM maps Tomb of Annihilation. That's probably the one. DM map of Chult. But there's a player one. Wait, does that? Okay, no. That one has the labels on the map. There is a player map. It's in here somewhere. So this is kind of what's a pain. Just you'll want to go read through the whole module, read through the story and all that kind of stuff. Let's see, Tomb. Maybe it is battle maps. No, I don't think it is. It's got to be in player handouts, and I just missed it. Handouts, Tomb. Let's just look slowly here. Players Chult complete. There we are. That's the one. Okay, so what's really cool about this is it's the player version of the map. Doesn't have labels. Okay, so they can't see much of anything. It might be spoiling a little bit of the terrain, but honestly, that's it. And then so Port Nyanzaru is up here. There's the bay. And let's see. The party can get lost. We're not using those mechanics because we didn't think they were very fun. And so you can keep track of where they really are with this one here. You are here, and you can make that public. I should mention links can be made public, so they can be made green like that. So the players can see that you are here, but then you use this pin to say, aha, but the party's really here, and they think they're here. And I just didn't like that mechanic, so we weren't using it. Let's see. Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff here. I know our players, here's Mabala. That's where our players went, so that's not a spoiling anything. So we can open this up. What's cool is you can say, they're traveling, and based on where they want to go, you can just pop open these different parts of the story instead of having to go hunt for it. So you can describe this plateau, this cliff, and then they can meet Nanny Poo Poo, and there's a whole story section about her, and then you can see an image of her, and there's an encounter with her and her NPC, and her flesh golem are already in there, which our players defeated. And so, yeah, so it's really fun in Fantasy Grounds to navigate a campaign using the map as the centerpiece instead of having to read through it, page by page and like jumping around a book over and over and all that stuff. It's nice to just have this map as the reference. Oh, and the one thing I didn't mention, but should be obvious when one of the first features you learn in Fantasy Grounds is all these things at the bottom of the screen, all these boxes are shortcut boxes. You can drag any links in there. So if I drag this link down there, then I can go ahead and just open that map up anytime I want, which is pretty cool. And then these will stay. And players can do this too. Players have the same fields down here. They can drag anything they want down here and then be able to reopen it anytime. You can also drag die rolls, I think. So like I could put, a 3d20, and then I could just roll 3d20 down there by clicking that. I double clicked it, rolled it twice. You can clear this field out by right clicking it. If you want to add complex die rolls, I think you can do /roll 1d20 plus 5 plus 1d6 plus 4 or something like that. I think if you roll that. Oh yeah, I totally did that. And then so the trick here though is if you drag that, it just drags the text. It's like, oh, okay, that's not what I wanted. If you drag this text down here, then you can do that. That's a little trick I found. You can put complex rolls in here and drag them down here. Another useful trick if you're doing like a manual game where you're not using any of the Fantasy Grounds features, and your players want to drag like their more complex formulas, they can just type out the complex formula and then drag it to a shortcut. So that's kind of nice. Okay, let's go ahead, and I'm just going to kill the player now because I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and show you my custom module I built. So I actually have a little book that really helps me a lot with inspiration for creating things, and it has all these cool tables in it and shortcuts for how different things work in D&D. But I created a module. And the book is called a Hero Book. And you can Google for it, Hero Book, and it's a Hero Book GM. And so I load this in, and I transcribed all of the tables from this book into Fantasy Grounds tables. And once you have that loaded in, you can come over here and you can find Hero Book in here. So the Hero Book GM, there you go. Oh, get rid of my search. There we go. Okay, and there's tons of tables in here to roll on, okay? Which is really cool. So like if you have a random drink at a bar, go ahead and roll on the drink table. Oh yeah, we have cider. You want cider? Like that way you don't have to think about that kind of stuff, which is something I always struggle with when on the fly. Building a dungeon. You can have different dungeon rooms, and you can have different like senses, themes, traps in the dungeon, all sorts of stuff. Just go through all of these tables. There's tons of things to roll on. There's a treasure table. And this rolls against other tables. So all these in brackets are other tables. So it's going to roll 45. It's going to roll on the art object. Okay, you found an amulet. That's how fast you can do this stuff. You might want to roll these in the dice tower to keep them secret. Yeah, there. Now all this stuff is secret, and they can't see. Like you rolled a crown. So that way they, maybe you planned it, maybe you didn't, maybe it's random, maybe it's not. Sometimes keeping those rolls secret is nice, so that's why I like to have the dice tower available. Okay, so there's a bunch in here, and one of the cool stuff is there's NPC names, and there's all sorts of stuff about NPCs, negative trait, positive trait, profession, quest hook, quirk, and you could go through each of those tables and roll one by one, or you can go into story mode here, and you can go to, let's keep this uncategorized because this is where new stories go by default. Go to templates and go to Hero Book GM. And I have some cool templates in here. If you are in a library, for example, and you want your character your player grabs a random book and you're like, and you're struggling to come up with something, just hit generate. And you found the book of war, or a book called The War of Elementals. And you can put that in the chat if you want to. And you can keep generating books. And it will keep creating cool stuff. And so, like, let's go look at the tables real fast. The tables. There are book subjects. So these are different book subjects. And then there's book titles. And you can see it rolls on NPC or subject, place or subject. It's like it uses all these tables to kind of compile them together and create these cool random creations. And I'm amazed at how robust and how diverse the stuff it comes up with is. You almost never see the same thing twice. And so it's pretty cool. A tale of animal handling and half-orcs. And animal handling and half-orcs are stuff that gets randomized on other tables. Celestials and divination. Humans for dummies. The collected works of Javertoma. The Conjuration Compendium. The Merchant's Guide to... Oh, well that's not good. Guide to reference magic item. Oh, I'll have to work out the kinks on that one. Apparently, I'll leave that there actually so I can debug it. Yeah, so it'll create all of these and it puts them in the uncategorized, so you can sort them into categories if you want to. To do that, just drop open a category and you can drag these into the category of your choice. You can create a custom category for your campaign too, which I do a lot. Let's see, inn names. You can generate different inns. Oops, come on, let's put the template over here. Let's create a bunch of those. The Vanarwe Road Inn, the Evalashalin's Lodge, Ashley Road Inn, the Laughing Chalet, the Restful Tree Hostel. There's a bunch of inn names. It's kind of fun. Settlements. This one's really fun. This one will create you a random settlement. Oakbrook Village, about 500 residents, 70 residences, 9 buildings. It's a monarchy, mostly halflings, extreme weather, very high taxes. And then you can do you can roll against this building settlement table. And so it says if it's a village, roll a d8 on it. So we'll just drag a d8 over here, roll it against that table. Well, that's, by the way, I told you it rolls based on how many items are in the list, but if you drag a die onto it and roll that, then it will only roll a d8 against that list. And so the reason for that is the smaller the village, then the more exotic places are not going to be present, right? So if it's a village and not some giant city, then we only want buildings from 1 through 8. So potentially a farm, a hunting camp, a lumber mill, and you can roll based on, as the players are going into buildings. You can do all this stuff on the fly. And so it's quite nice. And so it tells you right here, use the table to generate buildings as needed, relevant to a settlement. Use the following rules depending on settlement size. So let's go ahead and generate another settlement. This one's a town. Okay, so if it's a town, we're going to roll a d10 against that list over here. Okay, stables. They found stables. Let's just go ahead and say it's a metropolis. That means 2d20 against this thing, which actually is just rolling on the table normal because it's got 40 items. 26, a jeweler. So there you go. If you're struggling to find out, come up with what buildings are, if you haven't put a map together ahead of time that has all the buildings to find, you can go ahead and do this, or you can use it during preparation to put the map together. It's all up to you. So these are pretty cool. Shop names. You can generate different shops. Burmard's Broken Wares. Let's see, let's move this. The Old Hydra, Janwan's in Mothcaster, the Rusty Lamb Boutique, Windpan's Stormy Bazaar, Lenquil's, the Drowned Lion Boutique. So there's just lots of different stuff you can do there. It's pretty fun. And then the last one here is, oh wait, what happened to my NPC one? Oh, maybe I didn't export it into this module. Let's actually close this real fast then, because I really want to show that one off. Because I gotta go open a different module for that. But yeah, so I have one for generating NPCs, and that's my favorite generator. Let's go into Module Creator. That's where I've been creating my stuff. Come on. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Do 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 do. Oh, come on. It's like it knows we're recording. Okay. Story. Templates. What? What happened to my NPC? One. Damn it. Somehow I lost it. Well, I guess I'll have to recreate that. But yeah, basically, in fact, I think I still have it in Discord, so we could probably recreate it real fast. Why don't we just do that? Let's pop open Discord here. Come on, computer. Okay, let's go to the tavern. Here we are. I have stuff up here, and I'm pretty sure I screenshotted the template, so it should be pretty easy for us to recreate the template. Yes. Here we are. Oh, that's the settlement one. Settlement NPC right there. Okay, I don't know what happened to this NPC one. But let's go ahead and put that together now real fast. Okay, so let's create a new item here. NPC name. Okay, and then we're going to reference that generated NPC name with square brackets. So what will show up in the square brackets is the same as what generates from rolling on this NPC name table. So it doesn't, otherwise if I used square brackets here, it would just roll again and come up with a different name. So that's how we reference the previously done value. Okay, and then we just want to put, we want to make that a heading. Okay, and then we're going to create a list. We're going to do NPC race. Oh my gosh. Remember, square brackets are tables. So when we hit generate, it's going to roll on these tables. Okay, NPC appearance. NPC speech pattern. NPC speech pattern. And NPC vocal quality. Voice. Okay, NPC profession. NPC positive trait. But. NPC negative trait. NPC quirk. And lastly, it's an NPC quest hook. Okay. So hopefully this time we won't lose this thing. I'll have to make sure I save it properly or whatever. But there you go. We generated an NPC. Orif, Asimar, monogrammed, musical, hoarse voice, Tanner, righteous but rash, can't stay focused, travels with a group of silent disciples. I really love this generator. It's really cool. I don't know why it got lost, but let's see. Mud Dravina, human, bulging backpack, long pauses, flat voice, bookbinder, virtuous but impulsive, avoids the sun, acquaintance has gone missing. Jedmera, Aarakocra, ornamental, proper, gravelly voice, Miller, honorable but greedy, always grinning, offering an unusual magic item for free. Terrace Lenar, half-elf, tight, repetitive, whisper voice, thug, lively but covetous, has no fingernails, drumming up business for local artisan. So like, and you can change these. If you feel like a couple things on them don't fit, you can change the generated thing. But it's a great starting point. I really like it. In fact, while we're in here, let's go ahead and export this module. Hero Book GM. Okay, and then we're going to select all of the story templates and tables that are in this campaign. So there should only be stuff for Hero Book in here. Yep, so I don't have to... You can manually add stuff to this list, but I think we're good. Module exported successfully. Okay. Hopefully there's nothing else missing. I guess while we're in here, it was what was that one reference item? I guess I'll have to debug it in the other campaign. But anyway, yeah, so that module is really useful. I'm really glad I had a screenshot of that so that I could recreate it pretty easily. So what I do is I use a couple of different computers. And so sometimes I will, and I use Google Drive to synchronize everything. And so sometimes I'll leave Fantasy Grounds open on one and open it up on the other. and then whoever saves last wins. And so I'll make changes over here, but I don't close and save it. They don't get saved to Google Drive, and then I'll open the other one, and it will overwrite changes. And so sometimes it's a little weird like that. So I'm hoping that now the module should contain the missing story template. But yeah, this module, I'm thinking of changing the name to just like Chev's helpful tools or something like that, because I'm going to add a lot more stuff to it that's not just from this Hero Book GM thing that I have on my desk here. But let's see. Let's go ahead, and we should already have the module loaded, which means we should already have story templates from it. There we are, NPC. Cool. So it did work. I just got to go find that one story we generated and debug it. The book. Here we are. Let's see. Reference magic item. Oh yeah. What the hell? Chain armor legendary. Oh, I think it's because it doesn't have a reference. It was not able to pull up the module that it was trying to hit. That's why. I see. So we would need to load all my modules here in order to get some of that stuff. Because if I look at the treasure table, let's see. Let's go find Hero Book. If we look at the treasure table that I have, because that book was The Merchant's Guide 2. So let's actually look at book subjects. Book subject. Oh, no, it's book title. Book title. There we are. And somewhere in here is The Merchant's Guide 2. Right there, to treasure. So we got to load the treasure table. Treasure. Okay, so we found a bunch of stuff in here. It looks like it went all the way to armor legendary. Magic item legendary. So I guess we gotta find a magic item then. Let's see, magic item. LMN. Magic item legendary. Oh. Oh, and then is there some more to this? Efreeti chain. So we do have reference to this. Huh. I might have to just remove these links and just have the text. That might be the problem. Because it's like, it's showing this big, giant link. Reference magic item. Reference magic item data.efreeti chain at Dungeon Master's Guide. Blah, blah, blah. So maybe we didn't have the Dungeon Master's Guide loaded at the time that I did that. I don't remember. No, I think we did. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, for the most part, this thing works. So the treasure was a cup, mundane item, potion of healing. So this is a really cool way to pull stuff out of, like if they open treasure, like, and notice I've adjusted these values too on the treasure table. So if you want to put treasure into a box and you don't know what you want to put in there, 1 through 20 is a mundane item. 21 through 35 is a gemstone. 36 through 45, and they get smaller and smaller until legendary magic item only has a 4 in 100 chance. So 86 to 95 is a magic item, very rare. 76 to 85, magic item, rare. I maybe even should adjust these to be a little more scarce. I don't know, but yeah. So you can do cool stuff with these tables. Magic item rare. I was just trying to see if I could get it to barf, but I think it barfed because it was the treasure table was being used as part of a generation of a story template, a book title, and so that's why it's got these little dragon heads in front of it, because I drug these items from the items window, And so it's that text in this is that reference link, basically, I think is what's in front of it. So I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that right now. It's only one item on the table there. So I'll worry about that later. Fix it. For now, you could just back out all the text that's out there and leave the Afridi chain, like you wanted it to be. So no big deal. Okay. All right. I think we're gonna call that one good. We've gone on quite a long. I've done quite a few videos. I got to feed animals and take care of some business today. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this really helps you get used to Fantasy Grounds.